A rare circumstance in the vinyl soundtrack collecting game is a label releases the sequel soundtracks to a movie that they have previously released. And not only do they release the sequels, but they repress the original film's soundtrack that had been out of print for a while, so you can get all of them. So if you missed out, now you can get all the films. And that's exactly the case with Waxwork Records releasing the full score to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 3. And in addition to Part 3, they are re-releasing the first and second film soundtracks in a new colorway. For a lot of people, that's very exciting news. Now, I already own that first Waxwork pressing of Part 1, and I'll explain why I'm not buying the others. Welcome to Popcorn and Vinyl, the show where we talk about films, film score, and vinyl. When Waxwork first released the full Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles score on vinyl, it was a release I didn't know that I wanted. Few films and their music can make me feel 7 years old again, but when I hear this music, I'm transported back in time to the early 90s. My friend Jacob and I had an unofficial arrangement. He would borrow my Batman VHS and I would borrow his Ninja Turtles VHS on sort of a regular sharing rotation. And I would say this film, more than any other, has informed my sort of vision of what New York City was like for that next decade. The Waxwork release filled a nostalgia hole I had, and I didn't even realize it. That deluxe release featured a 2 LP complete score by composer John Duprez, which has been pulled from the original masters and restored for this album release. It was the first time that this score had been released in any format, which is pretty shocking considering, I think, its popularity. Interestingly, I had the Part 3 soundtrack on CD that I had found at the dollar store many years ago, but I had never listened to it because it was mostly full of terrible songs. At the time of my purchase, there were a few colorways available, including a yellow April O'Neil edition, an all-white Casey Jones, and then a color version for each of the turtles, which was a green paired with the color of said turtle. And one thing that I really like that Waxwork does that only a select few labels do is they give 2 different colorways on a 2 LP release. On this particular one, I got the Donatello edition, so record 1 was purple and record 2 was green. And I know some people don't really care about the colors, but it's, these fun colorways, I like them, and having 2 is just kind of a nice bonus. And the records looked great. They were both a solid color green or purple with a slight marbling. The record featured all new artwork by original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles co-creator Kevin Eastman, which really leaned into a comic book aesthetic, for that front and back cover, but particularly for that monochrome gatefold. That gatefold gave us a Mission Impossible opening credits-esque summary of the entire film, or I guess a full comic book. Personally, I didn't love the artwork. I thought it was good, but it's not an aesthetic that I personally gravitate toward. Which I know what I'm saying is sacrilege because this guy, he helped to develop the entire look and feel of the franchise. But because of my introduction to the Ninja Turtles was the original film, the Nintendo game, and the Saturday morning cartoon, I didn't really have a personal connection to the original comic book art. But I'm guessing some diehard fans out there would absolutely love this style. It was beautifully executed, but this is one of those examples where I would prefer the original movie key art used in the posters and cassette covers simply because of my nostalgic attachment to that original art. Well, Waxwork had an answer to that. They included a jumbo-sized postcard with that original poster image, which was just such a great bonus. They also included a fold-out poster, so if you liked that cover art, there's more of that art for you to enjoy on the inside. Sometimes when one of these releases comes out, I just rush to order in case it's a really popular one, and I don't even look at the details. And I totally skipped past the inclusion of that extra artwork, so for me, this was an awesome bonus. I didn't even know it was part of the package. And on that note, anytime a label does include an extra add-on like that, it just really adds to the overall value of the package for me. It would cost so little to print a little thing like that, but it's just such a nice bonus for collectors. The music itself sounds great, a very clean restoration, good dynamic range. It really pounds in some moments. I did find the mid-range a little bit muddy at times, but overall this was a very nice pressing. The choice of composer kind of comes out of nowhere, at least to me, as Duprez is mostly associated with his work on the music for various Monty Python projects. I was not aware also that originally the score was conducted by Shirley Walker, who we all know and love from the Batman animated series music. amongst other things. The music has such a range of styles that really captures a lot of that early 90s sound, from funky pop beats to hard rock, metal guitar, with some pepperings of large orchestral sounds and a range of synth cues. And there's even an infusion of Japanese sound through the inclusion of some traditional instruments. Some tracks that have always stood out to me was really just that opening crime wave track. It really kind of got me into the movie, the main Ninja Turtles theme, but especially Shredder's entrance. I remember as a kid seeing Shredder's menacing entrance. He was this larger-than-life figure, and the music was just set up so brilliantly as this intense villain, comes into this powerful percussion. It really set the stage for Shredder. There's bits of dramatic music, strong 90s action music, which I don't even know how to describe it aside from you just sort of know it when you hear it. It includes a Bill Conti-style training montage cue, but the major downfall of this score, unfortunately, had to be included because it's a complete score, but there are numerous cues used for comedic purposes, which include sort of baseball game, intermission music, or other classical pieces used for comedic effect, and it worked in the movie fine. But it's the only time I wish there was a convenient skip track button on a record player, because it just takes you out of the listening experience so much. And I found these tracks got more annoying on multiple listens. So I'm not a fan of these, but I get why they had to be included, unfortunately. Overall, this is a fantastic offering. A great, well-produced album that will surely satiate fans that have been craving a soundtrack release for decades. It also has a CD version, so if you're not digging the vinyl, you could still get a physical release, which would give you that skip track option for those horrible comedic tracks. I would consider Waxwork Records a top-tier record label in terms of production quality and creativity. I sadly only have a handful of releases from them because their catalog skews largely toward horror releases, and that's really not up my alley. But all the records that I have from them are stellar. And I was even discussing recently with Paolo from Gigawatts how they have the best cardboard. Their jackets just feel sturdy and well constructed. And they even include just little personal touches like little cards in the packaging of who packed their records. However, I'm beginning to suspect that only 2 people work there, as Rachel always seems to be the one that packs my records. Thank you, Rachel. And Mean Gene, obviously, is pretty rad. If you know who you know. So getting back to my statement at the beginning, I said I would not be buying part 2 and 3. And it's not really a groundbreaking reason. They simply don't offer enough musically to make me pull the trigger. They very much become more of the same. There aren't enough cues on those albums that I love to merit buying a whole new album. And I'm not such a diehard Turtles fan that I would buy these kind of from a completist standpoint and kind of needing to own everything in the series. I like the first. It gives me everything I wanted. That's not to say that you shouldn't get them. Part 2 and 3 also have similarly attractive offerings with matching artwork and included inserts. If you're a big fan of the franchise or you really love the music, then you definitely should pick these up because they look equally good. This is a fantastic set for the diehard Turtles fan. Again, one thing I love is that they are repressing the first and second to go along with the newly released part 3. The repressings do feature new colorways, so I know there are collectors out there who try to get every single version. Well, looks like you've got some new options to hunt down. When something goes out of print, as a collector, it's so disheartening kind of getting into a series and knowing it's going to be an uphill battle trying to track down those previous versions. So the fact that you can buy all 3 today, and the fact that they're shipping right away too, that's very exciting. I always preach I'm okay with pre-orders and waiting months and months, but it is refreshing when you're excited about a release and you know you're gonna get it in a few days. Overall, phenomenal set. I love the first. These ones look equally rad, so consider checking these out. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing. And I'd love to hear in the comments if you'll be getting any of these releases, which version you already have, or who from Waxwork Records packed your records, just to see if they have any other employees. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.